Hi, I'm Debbie Foreman, and welcome back to another episode of GAPCAST. This is my channel where we talk about the world of gaps, the infamous people on YouTube or on social media, whether they're politicians, actors, actresses, reactors, educators, that talk about the world of gaps and how gaps hinder progress. And everybody talks about it, but not many people actually come with systemic solutions. And that's what we do over here at GAPTrax. So I wanted to talk to you guys today about something. I'm not going to be doing a reaction, I'll be doing more reactions later. But I want to talk about something that's kind of personal, all right? And it's called the multidimensional performance gap, all right? I used to think that the problem was me for a long time because I'm really fast, quick, 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 quick. And I thought I was too fast. And yeah, I'm emotional. I get layers of emotions. Every single emotion that runs through my brain, I can I can put a tag onto it and tell you exactly what emotion it is. So I can be happy, sad, angry, frustrated, all at the same time, depending on what my reaction is. So I thought I was too fast. I thought I was too emotional. I thought I was too involved, even too responsible for things that weren't even mine. Okay. And that's a big problem when we feel responsible for everything. You know, that accountability, sometimes that we wear it as like a badge of honor on our sleeves. But then something happened that changed everything for me. Okay. It was during my time. Okay. Let's go back in time. I'm going back to 1991. 1991. You guys, I'm 57 years old. So for a lot of you, this is like back in the cave. And I was in Brazil. And it was my second corporate job. I was now in the second American startup operation, and it was at a company called Bax Global. I didn't have a good relationship with them in the end, but anyways, it was at the time a very high pressure environment because it was a startup, an American organization coming to Brazil doing their startup operations, and I was young. I'd have to do the math. 69, 90, I was about 23. And I had been hired for a managerial position because I had come from a previous startup for 2 years before that with United Airlines. All right. So here we are. It was a high pressure and there were high expectations, like really big expectations. At the same time, they were going down to Brazil and they thought it would be like lovely to keep the team stretched really thin, like really thin. And because of that, there was systems in place and those systems were constantly breaking. They were snapping, they were cracking. And I kept stepping in. I kept stepping in to fix it. I kept stepping in to stabilize. And at the end of the day, I found that I was holding everything together. At first, especially at my young age, I felt like it was leadership. But you know what? Over time, it became really exhausting. Absolutely, like unfathomably exhausting. Because no matter how much I fixed and fixed and fixed, it kept happening again. And then we get a repeated cycle. I talk a lot in my work about fractal patterns. And if you don't know what a fractal pattern is, it's those geometric patterns that like repeat themselves over and over and over, and they just get bigger and bigger. And this pattern started happening. And I started realizing that the patterns and these fractal patterns started repeating again and again and again. Different people, different departments, but then always the same breakdown. And then one day, poof, and I was really young, you know, I'm in my early 20s. That's when I saw it. I had this like big, huge, what do you call it, an aha moment. And it wasn't random. It was my ability to start mapping out those patterns over and over and kind of removing myself from it because right then I was emerged in the middle and I was like the fixer, the fixer, the fixer, the doer, the go, fast, do, whatever. And then I started realizing, yeah, this isn't random. The systems keep breaking the same way. And when they do, they were pulling me in to fix them because I was the fixer. So if you're like me, and I mean, there's a lot of us, like I'm like you, you're like me, you know, let me try to like clarify this. You feel capable, really capable, highly responsible, and you're high performing. Yet at the same time, very slowly, we realize we become the system, like the glue holding everything together. Years go by, I leave corporate startups in South America, I stay in Brazil, I open my own business, and I really start focusing on filling those gaps and those broken patterns, finding it. What is, how do we map the pattern? What gaps do they cause within strategies and tools and operations and people? And I came to tag this or name it as the multidimensional performance gap. Let me try that again. The multidimensional performance gap. Okay, multidimensional because it's happening in all directions, different departments, different people, different layers, different problem sets, and it's based on performance, not your performance, the organization's performance, and it creates a gap. So, like I said, it's not one problem; it's layers. Strategy misalignment, tool inefficiency, operational breakdowns, people compensating silently. And when these layers stack, efforts stop. Let me say that again. When these layers stack, efforts stop. They stop what? They stop translating into results. Individuals don't stop, but the effort to translate all this action into results, it plummets. Sorry, I think I just spit on my mic. People, I try to say this, and it sounds rather generic, but I want to see if you identify it with yourself, or you identify yourself with what I'm about to say. You don't feel stuck from a lack of effort, but from the invisible gaps that you're not able to diagnose. So what I want to kind of hone into is that if you have this feeling, you're the fixer, you're the doer, the system's broken, you're not getting to where you, the organization's not getting to where it should be, you feel there's a problem set, that problem set is most likely bound by one of four pain points, if not all four: stagnation, qualification, competition, and results. Then let me just give you a simple, quick little tool. Okay, just real quick to start, because there's a whole world to immerse yourself into. But if you find yourself working harder, but nothing is compounding, and you keep fixing things that shouldn't be breaking, if you feel responsible for outcomes you didn't create, because you get this thing, this is your job, these are your expectations, this is what you have to do, you go to do it, and the outcomes, they don't make sense within the system that's broken. And at the end of every single day, you're exhausted. When you wake up in the morning, you're exhausted. And you can't explain why. And let me make this clear to you. You are not underperforming. You are not underperforming. You are broke. I was just going to say you're broken. You are operating in a broken system. Let me correct myself there just to make sure. You're not broken. What you are doing is operating inside of a broken system. And here's what most of us don't realize, okay? Think about it. Join me on this. The cost of all of this. What is this actually costing? It's not just exhaustion. It's lost time, missed opportunities. The part that got me the most is reinforced self-doubt. If I were good at what I was doing, then it would be going well. If I was good at what I was doing, I wouldn't have to be fixing. Why am I the only one fixing things? If I'm fixing things, then I'm the one that broke them. And then you start self-doubting, and then it turns into like a repetitive cycle. Like I said, those patterns start repeating. And then you came into a job, gung-ho, and now you're starting to question yourself, and you're not questioning the cycle. So staying in cycles that don't change, I know you can relate to this. They have a hidden cost. Years and years of effort without results if you allow yourself to stay inside of it. But let me tell you, There's a simple shift. And I'm going to talk about mine, okay? And then I want you to kind of like think about how this relates to you. Everything in my life changed. It just shifted, transformed when I stopped asking, how do I fix this faster? And started asking, where is the system broken? So it went from me questioning myself to me observing the breakdown within the system. Okay? Where is the system broken? And once you start asking that, that's a shift. It goes from like a reactive diagnosis. You're not reacting into an effort alignment. It brings you from exhaustion into clarity. I want you to stop and kind of think, go into your mind, look into your environment. Ask yourself where you're the fixer, you're the doer, where you're self-doubting. And one specific, not all of them, but one specific area where you feel stuck, like literally stuck, because it keeps repeating. And now I want you to think about this. I'm going to use what we call, it's an acronym. It's called STOP, S-T-O-P, stop, 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 stop. So stop for a minute, stop. But it's an acronym for strategy or strategies, tools, operations, people. Strategy, tools, operations, and people. So when we apply the STOP in this world of GAP, in this multi-dimensional performance gap within organizations, we always come back to STOP. Strategy, tools, operations, or people. What is the issue that you're confronting? You might be confronting all of them, but if you had to pinpoint one, is it strategic problem that you keep fixing? Is it a tool or technology? Is it operational? Or is it people? Like people around you, leadership, customers? If you can't answer that clearly, that's the gap. Even if you can answer it, you now know where the gap is. And so what I'd like to invite you to, as I wrap this up, because it's just like a lot of, brainstorming here and a little bit of clarity into the world of different types of gap. I want to invite you to be able to just go download. There's a link in the description for the ebook. The ebook is a tool. It's like a diagnostic mapping tool. Let me see if I can share my screen, you guys. This is where I always blow it. You can go on, you can click up above. And this is just a free tool and kind of a guideline. So I can walk you through, and you can walk yourself through actually, what are gaps? How do they affect different market segments, people within them, stakeholders? How does it work around the world? Like I said, there's stagnation, qualification, competition, results. This is the hidden cost of that invisibility that I'm asking you to put your finger onto. How does it hit people in their professional development and in your personal growth? Because you are a person inside your profession. But what most people don't really realize, and I was talking about this and I mentioned this a couple times, is that you start self-blaming in this process. I'm the fixer, what am I doing wrong? And those feelings that come behind it, the fear, the frustration, the imposter syndrome, why me, not everybody else? Like if I were good at what I was doing, sometimes you feel invisible because nobody's listening. You can scream at the top of your lungs, but nobody hears what you're saying. And I want you to remember that fear is a courage gap. Frustration is a strategy gap. Invisibility is a communication gap. And then if you go through this and you want to play a game, it's a dynamic to understand maybe where those skills are that you need to hone in on for yourself to be able to walk yourself through this. You can come in, and this is really simple. This is the World Economics Forum's Skills of the Future for 2025 to about 2030, and they're constantly updating this. But did you learn these skills in school? Do you need them at work? It's a yes, I learned them in school. No, I didn't learn them in school. And all of these are yeses, because the World Economic Forum says these are the skills that you need in the job market today. So if you didn't learn them and you need them, there's a gap. And then it's easier to see how you're reacting and self-blaming. And of course, at the end of that, there's different things that you can go through with us. I want you to be able to start using this as a simple map diagnostic tool to really get those answers into your head. Because once you are able to pinpoint, once you're able to put your finger on it, once you're able to say, hey, guess what? It's not me, it's a broken system that affects performance. You're able to approach your job, whether it's an employer, your employees, your business, and say, hey guys, guess what? There's a new approach to this that's going to get us past this. And that exhaustion that you're feeling, it vanishes. My name is Debbie Foreman. Welcome back to another episode of GAPCAST. Like, subscribe, comment, download the ebook, do the mapping, the assignment, the dynamic, finger crawl across this, and join us for the next one. Thanks for being here.